You know, we're often told this one story about America, a story of progress, right? But if you really look closer, you'll see there are two completely different stories being written at the exact same time. One is about creating just an unbelievable amount of wealth. And the other? It's a story of intentional, systematic erasure. And today we're going to dig into that hidden history, right where those two foundations crash into each other.
Okay, take a look at this. This is a restored 18th century engraving, and it's called an emblem of America. And for us, this is kind of like our portal, our way into a truth that's been, well, twisted. This is a visual record, you see. It shows the original, copper-colored Americans exactly how early Europeans first saw them. This was before that very identity was methodically wiped from the national story.
So all of this brings us to this really powerful question, right? What if the America we think we know wasn't built on just one foundation, but on two? And what if one was designed specifically to create this brand new aristocracy, while the other was designed to tear down an ancient identity? And get this, it was all happening at the exact same time.
All right, so let's jump into that first story. And it's the story of the almost unbelievable creation of dynastic American wealth. We're not talking centuries here. No, this happened in one single, explosive 30-year window. Just look at this timeline for a second. In 1850, you have these families, the ones who would pretty soon dominate all of America, and they have basically zero recorded wealth. Zip. Then, just 30 years later, by 1880, they're literally the richest dynasties in all of human history. So the big question is, how on earth did that happen so fast?
I mean, we all know the names, right? The Vanderbilts, the Rockefellers, the Carnegies. These are the families who built the railroads, they controlled the oil, they ran the banks, the whole shebang. But here's the kicker. Before 1850, their massive fortunes just didn't exist on paper. Their rise to power was sudden, it was absolute, and it completely changed the shape of the nation.
So back to that question, how did it happen so fast? Well, this number is a massive clue. We're talking about the post-Civil War era, right during Reconstruction. The U.S. government just gave away, for free, over 170 million acres of public land to private railroad companies. I mean, think about that. That's an area bigger than the entire state of Texas. This wasn't just about hard work. This was a huge government-approved transfer of public resources straight into private pockets.
Yeah, so let's be clear. The free market had absolutely nothing to do with it. This whole system was built on government subsidies, on political backscratching, and on just ruthlessly crushing any and all competition. You had guys like Cornelius Vanderbilt. He wasn't just out competing his rivals. No way. He was buying politicians, bribing lawmakers, and using the full power of the state to lock in his monopolies. It was a system designed to pick winners and losers, not based on merit, but by rewriting the laws. But listen, that's only one side of the coin. It's only half the story. Because at the very same time all this insane wealth was being created and locked down, another system, a parallel system, was being perfected. And this system wasn't designed to build anything up. It was designed to tear something down, to erase. This was the coordinated reset of Indigenous Black American identity. And this wasn't some hidden thing. This process of erasure was written literally right into the country's official records. If you look at the census in the early 1800s, there was this really broad category, all other free persons. But fast forward to 1850 and boom, the categories are suddenly super rigid. White, black, mulatto. And here's the most important part. You didn't get to choose your label. It was assigned to you by a census taker. Their personal opinion, their bias, became official, historical fact. And all of this led to the infamous one-drop rule. Think of it like this. It was a tool, a weapon almost, to just flatten these incredibly complex, multi-generational family trees into one single subordinate category. It didn't matter who your parents were or your grandparents. It didn't matter who you were. The system decided what you were. It's fascinating, right? Just as the government was creating economic monopolies, it was also creating racial categories by force. I mean, just think about how deep this reset went. In 1828, if you picked up a Webster's dictionary, the definition of an American was, and I'm quoting here, originally applied to the aboriginals or copper-colored races. But that identity was systematically rewritten, literally erased from the very definition of the word American. And this erasure, it wasn't something that just happened. It was an active, aggressive, multi-front campaign, especially after Reconstruction.
We're talking about violently destroying political power, gutting the 14th and 15th Amendments, rewriting history textbooks to push a completely whitewashed story, and yeah, literally burning down thriving Black towns and businesses. But here's the thing. Erasure always gets met with resistance. And out of that resistance, a really powerful counterstory has emerged. It's a philosophy of reclaiming yourself, of recoding a reality that was basically designed to hit delete on your very existence. And this whole philosophy of reclamation, it has a name: delineation. You can think of it as an anti-erasure movement. And it's so much more than just pushing back against a label someone else gives you. It's about actively naming, honoring, and protecting a unique identity, one that was forged right here on American soil. It's that huge shift, right? From being defined by the system to defining yourself. So to really get what reclamation is about, you first have to understand the code that it's trying to break. And it's been laid out as this 5-step loop, almost like a computer program that just keeps running. It's a self-replicating cycle that starts with observe, then it moves to justify, dominating someone else, then it renames them to wipe out their identity, exploits their resources, and finally it reinforces the whole system so it can start all over again with the next generation. Okay, so how do you break a loop like that? Well, you need a countercode, a counter protocol. And that's the A.L.I.V.E method. These are real actionable steps you can take. It starts with awareness. You have to see the loop first. Then listening, learning to trust your own inner wisdom. Next is inquiry, asking yourself, hey, where did I even get these beliefs? Then verification, separating the myths from your own deep memories. And finally, the most important step, embodiment. You have to live the truth, not just talk about it. So, the question becomes, how does all this philosophical stuff become real? How does it become tangible? Well, it moves from being just an internal process to becoming an external one. Reclamation becomes the literal blueprint for building a new, self-determined future. A future where your very identity is the infrastructure. Just look at these two images side by side. On the left, you've got just a partial list of inventions by Black Americans. A legacy of real, tangible creation. And on the right, that's a modern blueprint for a sovereign community in Vatry, Louisiana. And that is not a coincidence. That same brilliant, innovative spirit that created all that technology in the past is now being used to design the communities of the future. And the vision for a place like Vacherie, it's not just about putting up buildings. It's about building sovereignty. It completely reframes intellectual and cultural identity as the most essential infrastructure you can have. The whole goal is to create a self-sustaining community, one that's built on a foundation of dignity. It's this beautiful loop, right? The city takes care of the people, and the people take care of the city. And that leaves us with this incredibly powerful idea. It's about shifting the narrative, moving away from just surviving and moving towards actively creating. The message here is profound. You were never meant to just survive inside the structure. You were born to outcode it, to use your own identity, your own history, and your own innovation to write a completely new reality.